Hey, how's it going, everybody? He's Scott Rickenbach. I'm Scott Spreitzer. We are DocSports.com's Scott and Scott Show, and we're back for another early moves and early best bets show this week for the weekend of October 18th and 19th. I say both days because of you guys asking for it. We're going to talk some NFL sharp moves also that happened on Sunday afternoon, October 12th for next week's card. And we have a few. We have a few from NFL. We've got a few from college. And then, of course, at the end of the show, we will offer up our best bets, our first best bets of the new week, early value best bets, if you will. Real quick note before we jump into all that. First of all, these moves that we're talking about take place, if you're new to the show, on Sunday afternoon. So they're sharp moves. There's no public action going on here. Sharp action that's moving these numbers. And we started this the Sunday before week 2 of the college football season, or maybe it was week 3. We've done like 5 shows now. Anyway, the sharp first moves, if you've been tailing those, are actually 19 and 15, folks, which might not sound great if you're new to the 11 to win 10 battle, but sharps will take 56% any season, every season. And a real good example, if you're just betting one dime to win one dime, so you're betting $1,100 to win 1,000 on any of those games, those sharp first moves, you're up $2,500 over that time period. So 56% may not sound good, but it certainly is good. And we'll jump into all that stuff in just a moment. I did want to mention that free account, $60. If you're not yet a member at DocSports.com, you click on the link below the video. You get yourself set up for the free $60 package, and then you can use those free $60 on any of mine or his, any of our plays over at DocSports.com. That's the daily plays. Daily packages over at Doc Sports. So, and of course, all of our plays, individual plays, are found on our homepages at DocSports.com exclusively. Rickenbach, that was a lot of talk. Let's jump into it before we bore people to death. We got FAU taking on South Florida on the road. FAU, South Florida, boy, this is a real quick jump as soon as that legit opening line was placed. They were a 20.5-point favorite, South Florida. They were bet up really quickly to 22.5. I guess based off of that performance was a lot to do with it last Friday night. They blew the doors off of North Texas in the second half, 42-15 is what they outscored them in the final 2 quarters, and gained, 580 yards. Just looking good right now, South Florida, Scott.
Yeah, and that being said, Scott, surely I do understand the move here. South Florida 5-1. They've won 3 straight games by 27 points or more. However, even though Florida Atlantic has some big losses to Maryland and Memphis by 29 or more points, they're off of back-to-back wins and scored 40 points per game in those 2 wins. Not only that, here's a big thing for me. South Florida has a big showdown with 6-0 Memphis on deck. So all I would say here, I can't go against South Florida, but just saying proceed with caution here because of that, and also because of the backdoor cover potential. The Owls have been scoring some big points, so.
We always talk about betting numbers, not necessarily teams, and that's why FAU was a big sharp move on last week's show on FAU, and this week a big instant move going against FAU at South Florida. Next up, you got Oklahoma getting some action on Sunday afternoon at South Carolina. OU opened 4.5. It's up to 5.5. They're coming off, of course, that terrible offensive performance against Texas on the Saturday in a 23-6 loss. And I went back and looked, Scott, against Auburn and Texas. The Sooners have rushed for a combined 80 yards on 54 carries. It'll be interesting to see what gives here, because Missouri lit up this Carolina defense on the ground a couple of weeks ago. So maybe OU can get it right. And the Sharps surely think they will here.
Yeah, I think they're looking at it's bounce back mode after that loss to Texas. And again, it was fueled by 3 interceptions. They turned the ball over on downs a couple of times, and that big 75-yard punt return. The point is that 23-6 final score is a bit deceiving. And let's not forget they were 5-0 before that game. And South Carolina has really underachieved. They've lost 3 of their last 4. Their only win against a struggling Kentucky team. 3 losses by 9 or more points. I'll be looking to lay it here, but I do appreciate what you're saying about the ground game. Can they get it going here? Because that's going to be a key to opening up the passing attack too.
Yeah, the Gamecocks might be the defense that allows OU to get some yardage on the ground and rush for maybe 4.5 yards per pop. SEC clash here also. It is LSU at Vanderbilt. Vandy has gone from a 1.5-point opening line favorite up to 2.5 in this one. I don't know if we can call it a legit elimination game for these two teams if they both, are going out there and battling and trying not to take yet another loss. But, Vandy's loss, you just talked about kind of a misleading final score in that Oklahoma game. Vandy's loss to Alabama was a bit misleading. I mean, that was a lot closer than the final score would indicate. Tide got 10 points in the final 4 minutes. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, good point, Scott. And it is a nice spot for Vandy off of the bye week and coming off of that loss to Alabama, which was a bit deceiving. They'd also have the much better ground game on offense compared to LSU. But what I can't get past with this LSU team, they've allowed 10 or less points in all 5 of their wins. So I know they really struggled against Ole Miss, but let's not forget that, again, Vandy didn't look great against Alabama. And I know Vandy's at home for this one, but LSU beat them last season and they had a 27-13 edge in first down. So I'm with this move like this, I'm actually leaning Tigers a little bit here early on, but this is one I'm going to have to look into a lot more.
All right, you might want to hide your eyes, Scott. You're a Keystone State guy. I know all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Maybe things will get better. But Penn State now with a new head coach, with James Franklin being shown the door after the loss, the third straight loss this past week. And on the home turf, when you lose that game, that's just no fun. But Iowa laying 2 at an open here in Iowa City. That has been bet up to 3. I got to tell you, Scott, I mean, Penn State's going on the road to a very tough place to play, obviously, to a program that knows its identity, maybe like no other program in the country. Interference, don't make mistakes, field position, good special teams, let the other team make mistakes, you win football games. And they played well against Indiana. It was a 13-13 game with about, a minute and a half to go or something. I think Iowa's in a pretty good spot this week. It's tough, Scott, I know, to judge how a team's going to react when they replace their head coach. I don't think it's going to be like Deshaun Foster and what's going on at UCLA for Penn State. Plus, they don't have their starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. And, I read a stat. It was something like the first time in 30 years that an FBS team had lost back-to-back games outright in which they were favored by 20 or more points, something along those lines. So it's just insane what has happened with Penn State. But that's the thing, is I'm not sure how they're going to react here. The assistant coach now stepping in on an interim basis with Franklin gone. Some of the players, the way they were speaking is that they didn't really want this to happen. So I'm not sure how they're going to respond. But I do want to mention, don't be fooled by Iowa scoring 37 against the Badgers, because some early turnovers set up some early scoring for the Hawkeyes, and then it just turned into a blowout. They only had 319 yards, but again, fantastic defense. But their wins are against teams that are combined 0-6 in Big Ten. And then in non-conference, they beat Albany and a horrible UMass team. So those teams are a combined 1-11 this season. So the thing is, I understand the line move here, but this one to me is a stay away game because I just don't know how Penn State's going to react.
Next up, we're going to get to the NFL in just a moment. I did want to mention some other sharp moves, the teams that have got sharp moves on Sunday afternoon. Nebraska, they went from 4.5 to 6.5 on the road against Minnesota. I guess that's because Nebraska wins and covers every road game, right? Wrong. I won't be betting this one. I doubt I'll be betting this one, I should say. Oh, by the way, can you Keystone folks and you Penn State fans leave Matt Rule alone? All right, all I'm hearing are the rumors about former linebacker Matt Rule is on the top of the list to coach at Penn State. We're very happy with Matt Rule in Lincoln, although I haven't lived there in about 40 years. But the bottom line is I'm still a Husker fan. Leave my guy alone, all right? Anyway, Nebraska got early action on the road to Minnesota. Nebraska survives the 3 interceptions by Dylan Raiola to come from behind and win at Maryland. All right, I can't agree with this one. You either play against North Carolina or you stay away from the game as far as I'm concerned. Folks, North Carolina was a 12.5-point dog at Cal to open. They're now a 10.5 point dog. My money's not on the Tar Heels. I'll just be candid and honest with everybody right up front. Miami, Ohio getting action, bumped from 11.5 to 13.5 in their MAC battle. Here's those UCLA Bruins from hunter to hunted because they're now a favorite, and they got bumped a couple of points, about 1.5 points so far on their current number. And then the Washington Huskies travel to Ann Arbor, and Washington has gone from a 6.5-point underdog to the Michigan Wolverines down to a 5.5-point underdog. That'll be interesting to see how the young freshman quarterback for the Wolverines and how the Wolverines bounce back in general. But those are the other sharp moves that we saw on Sunday afternoon. Scott, let's get to the NFL. We're going to talk about a Thursday night game in pro football, and that, of course, is the Steelers and the Bengals from Cincinnati. Pittsburgh, Scott, has gone from a 4.5-point opener up to 5.5. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Bengals, they don't have a ground game. So even though the passing game looked a little better with Flacco at the controls, if they can't get their run game going, which they haven't been able to, it's hard to open things up downfield. And also, of course, Cincinnati just has a horrible defense, so it's hard to argue with the line move here. Steelers also had a recent bye because they started October with that. But statistically, the Steelers are not great if you look into their stats, and they don't look like a 4-1 team based on that. Their pass defense has been susceptible at times. So I understand the move here, but this one's a tough one to call, in my opinion. Have to look into this one more, and it is a Thursday game, so we only got a little bit more time to look into it. But this one, for me, I'm probably going to stay away from.
Yeah, it's a good time to tell everybody all of our plays for football each and every week on the big card. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday games are all available Thursday afternoons from us over at DocSports.com. It's kind of a cool concept of doing it that way because you do get to see who's been practicing at least early in the week before you jump out and jump on those plays, I should say. Okay, I'm going to talk about this. Dolphins and Browns. The Browns have gone from a 1.5-point home favorite to a 2.5-point home favorite. Trust me, folks, this won't be public money at all on Cleveland. And I know the public, just like the Sharps, are not high on the Dolphins. And, of course, the Sharps are betting the numbers. I remember a few years ago, Scott, it was one of those situations. Every week, I forget what season it was, but a few years ago, every week on a daily show that I hosted in Las Vegas on ESPN radio here, the public was all over whoever was playing the Browns. The Sharps were all over the Browns, and the public kept winning week after week. And now we're seeing sharp action. One of the bigger sharp moves, the Cleveland Browns getting the money. I don't trust Miami anywhere, especially on the road, but do you really want this offense of the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, for me, the big thing here, that was a gut-wrenching loss for Miami to the Chargers because a range of emotions at the end of the game. It looked like they were going to lose. Then they got a late score to look like they were going to win, and only to give up a big play immediately and then lose in the final seconds. That's a tough defeat to come back from. And Cleveland has been tough at home. They had a tight loss to Minnesota, a 1-point loss to the Bengals when they had Burrow, and they beat the Packers here. So the only win that the Dolphins have was against the 0-6 Jets, and they were outgained by over 100 yards in that one. So I will actually be considering Cleveland here, even though that's difficult to do. So, but that's what I'm considering in this matchup based on what I just stated there.
You'll be on the sharp side. I'll tell you this, I will not be on the Miami Dolphins this week. That's for sure.
Yes,
It's Cleveland or nothing as far as I'm concerned. Panthers at the Jets. Interesting move here. The Jets, of course, off that. I don't know. What did we do to England? What did we do to the people of London? I mean, that was almost an act of war, sending that Jets offense over to London over the weekend on Sunday morning. And they gained, Scott, 82 yards on 48 plays. Fields was terrible. And I've seen the memes, UK police have rounded up Justin Fields and are deporting him immediately after the game. I've seen all that kind of stuff on the memes, but I got to tell you, that was just about as bad as it gets. The Panthers, everybody, picked up yet another victory. They've won 3 of 4, and they're a 5-point loss at Arizona from a 4-1 run. And the sharp action came in. They said, we'll take the 2.5. They bet it down to 1, Scott.
Yeah, interesting matchup here. And yeah, it's sad. We need better games in London. If we're going to bring the game of football to American football to the European side of things, we've got to put out a better product than that. That's for sure. But 3 of the Jets' losses have been by exactly 2 points. And the fact that they opened as a 2.5-point favorite here, to me, that says a lot. But I do understand people wanting to fade a team that's 0-6. But before you lay points, note that or before you take Carolina here, just note that the road team is actually 0-6 in Carolina games this season. They've won all 3 of their home games, but they've lost all 3 on the road. So also people looking, of course, at the Jets coming back from across the pond. So that's part of it here. But that yardage was 246 to 82. Still can't believe that 82, but outgained by a 3-to-1 ratio. So, and 9 Denver sacks. Do you believe that, Scott? They had 9 sacks in that game. So for me, just hard to trust either team here. The Jets, they got 2 field goals off of a short field. And then the longest drive was 37 yards for a field goal. Just ugly, ugly, ugly. So tough call for me, Scott.
Yeah, and it is tough because I didn't look at this game when the number came out and said, ooh, I got to take the Panthers here. It just didn't jump off the sheet at me because of things that you just said. It's an ugly, potentially ugly game, but sometimes when you get 2 ugly teams together on the same field, it turns out to be an exciting football game. Other sharp moves this weekend, or at least on Sunday afternoon, I should say, for Week 7. in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they were bet down from 3.5 to 3 against the Rams. That is the next game for the people of London to check out on Sunday morning. And the Giants were bet down from 7.5 to 7. They're playing up in the Mile High City at Denver in that one. Scott, let's get to it. Our early value best bets. Kick things off, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to turn to the NFL this week, and actually a Monday night matchup. I'm looking at the total in Detroit and Tampa Bay, over 53. I think the Lions are going to bounce back offensively after that loss just last night. And the Buccaneers are averaging 30.5 points per game their last 4 games. I know they were set up some on a short field in that win over San Francisco, and they're dealing with wide receiver injuries, but Mayfield keeps finding a way. Even he just utilizes what weapons he does have. And Detroit, this is only their 3rd home game, Scott, and they've averaged 43 points per game in their first 2 home games. And I think they're going to be ready here at home after the loss at KC. So this could turn into a shootout between Goff and Mayfield.
Good stuff from Scott Rickenbach. Best bet this week in the NFL. My early value best bet. I'm going to go to a game and I'm going to take a chance that Penn State's not going to rebound yet from all the turmoil. And part of that reason is losing your starting quarterback for the rest of the year. The quarterback who's going to fill in for him here has 13 passes at the collegiate level. So it is tough sometimes to call how a team is going to react just off of a firing in college football. Now, in the NHL, I love playing on a team that just canned their coach. You know, if they win right out of the blocks, you just keep playing them until they lose, but not always the same when it comes to something like college football. Iowa City, tough enough when a team is not going through turmoil. And we saw Iowa again, final 2 minutes, they're tied with Indiana, 13-13, held that great Cignetti offense in check for all but about a minute and a half of action, ended up losing by 5. But the bottom line is they played well. So I had a couple of games on our list that I jumped in on right out of the blocks, and this was one of them. So the Iowa Hawkeyes will be my early value best bet. We'll try to get back in the win column and get to 5-1 with the early value best bets. I did finally lose one this last week, and after a 4-0 start, so we'll look to go to 5-1 with this week's early value best bet. That's going to wrap it up for us, Scott. Any final thoughts before we say sayonara?
I just want to say I like your best bet too, because like you said, Iowa is such a strong program year after year and so consistent, and Penn State's the exact opposite right now. So sounds good to me, Scott. Good stuff.
All right, he's Scott Rickenbach. I'm Scott Spreitzer. Don't forget you find all of our plays in one place. That's DocSports.com on our individual homepages. Be sure to check them out each and every day of the week. Also, be sure to subscribe and click that like button. It does help us out quite a bit. And also, we do enjoy your comments. If it wasn't for your comments, we wouldn't have done NFL tonight. It would have been all college again. So we do appreciate the comments, and we do take a look at them and consider them for the show week to week. He's Scott. I'm Scott. We're DocSports.com. Let's put him in the win column, everybody.
Have a great week.